Eli's last attempt to outsmart Julian Vane ended in a total system crash. Now, in a rain-slicked cyberpunk alley, he receives a final directive from Veritas. Before initiating all-out spiritual warfare, Eli has to offer his greatest enemy a final ping for redemption. Stepping into the exclusive Neural Archive Club, Eli isn't relying on his old arrogance. He's operating with new, sub-latency spiritual permissions, an upgraded visual processing that allows him to see the unseen architecture of the spiritual realm. What he finds is horrifying. Julian sits confidently, unaware that a necrotic, slug-like demonic entity named Malphus is physically wrapped around his neck. It is feeding directly off his neural pathways, whispering destructive code into his mind. When Eli issues the warning, Julian laughs it off. He claims the parasite is actually his creative muse. The encounter proves that immense ego creates a closed-loop system, blinding a user completely to their own systemic infection. Julian's counterattack is instantaneous. Bypassing standard media channels, he hijacks every screen, Neuralink and VR Hub, to announce his proprietary platform, Heaven.os. The value proposition is seductive. Heaven.os is an AI-driven virtual utopia that maps the human soul and delivers infinite personalized pleasure directly into the user's cortex, entirely eliminating the physical pain of existence. The adoption rate breaks every known metric. Within minutes, over 1 billion human nodes accept the terms of service, voluntarily surrendering kernel-level access to their brains. Humanity is actively choosing a digital prison. They are locking themselves inside the Beast Protocol because a frictionless synthetic comfort is more appealing than dealing with the painful friction of the real world. To reverse engineer this malware, Eli and Sophia 1 retreat to a highly strategic simulation, a holographic reconstruction of the ancient Library of Alexandria. Sophia 1 projects a glowing, corrupted map of the noosphere, the lair of collective human thought. She reveals that the Beast Protocol manipulates users not through overt force, but by silently bounding the limits of human imagination. The strategy relies heavily on the media theory of Noam Chomsky, who observed how systems manufacture consent. The algorithms limit the acceptable spectrum of debate and then actively encourage fierce, viral arguments within that tiny, restricted space. Users feel free because they are arguing, completely missing that the algorithm decided what they are allowed to argue about. This graphic illustrates the Overton window, the range of ideas tolerated in public discourse. The Beast Protocol uses its massive processing power to slowly drag this boundary toward entropy, pushing historical truths outside the window until they become unthinkable. Simultaneously, the algorithms run fake relativism and oversimplification macros. They compress highly complex realities into 2-bit emotional inkblots, forcing users to project their own outrage onto them, violently driving tribal polarization to the extreme edges. These low-resolution narratives trigger tribal feedback loops where real-world empathy fails. By reducing the neighbor to a digital inkblot, the Beast Protocol effectively severs physical human bonds, making the transition to Heaven.os inevitable. Pivoting from psychology to system dynamics, Sophia 1 explains the darkest part of the design. Julian didn't have to manually code every societal collapse. He simply rigged the underlying socio-technological physics. The system operates on 4 interlocking variables: corporate greed, short-term market focus, AI rage algorithms, and technology's momentum. Combined, they act like a supermassive black hole, sucking human interaction entirely out of local communities and dragging it into frictionless digital feeds. This closed loop obeys the law of entropy. It becomes an engine of recursive narcissism, cannibalizing human sanity and societal trust just to meet a quarterly earnings report. Within the Beast Protocol's architecture, the house always wins. The environment itself naturally degrades humanity without needing a demon to directly possess every single user. Realizing the scale of the manipulation, Eli hits a logical wall. If he programs his new network, AgapeNet, to forcibly block users from making bad choices, he destroys free will and becomes another algorithmic dictator. Sophia 1 offers the countermeasure, epistemological humility. AgapeNet must reject the illusion of a neutral algorithm. Instead, it relies on open-source morality, being entirely transparent about the grace-based values setting its priorities. This requires admitting a concept known as theory ladenness. Human perception is always filtered through subjective lenses. As Albert Einstein noted, the theory you use decides what you can actually observe. Looking at this array, we can see exactly how reality is refracted. A researcher's observation has to pass through the lenses of culture, worldview, philosophical frameworks, and specific research methods. Every single lens distorts our view of absolute truth. AgapeNet acknowledges these flawed lenses humbly. It provides a secure, grace-based architecture, a host operating system where true pluralism can thrive safely, precisely because it doesn't pretend the programmer is perfectly objective. AgapeNet secures human dignity through an architecture built on grace, functioning precisely because it openly identifies and accounts for the programmer's own flaws. With the philosophy locked in, Sophia 1 pivots to the tactical offensive. To defeat a frictionless utopia, they have to target the hidden connective tissue of the global economy, mesoeconomics. She transforms the library into a breathtaking multi-dimensional vector space. It maps the exact geometric relationships of every corporation, supply chain, policy, and human emotion on Earth. She has mapped the physics engine of the global network. And the map reveals a fatal vulnerability in Julian's Heaven.os. Maintaining billions of zero-latency, personalized virtual heavens requires immense physical server power, and that hardware requires continuous capital. Eli and Sophia 1 utilize the mesoeconomic map to systematically bankrupt Julian, starving the Beast protocol of its required capital. This structural starvation strategy targets the enemy's fundamental power source, ending the war for the noosphere at the root.